I don't see Tamara on quite yet, so I'll kick us off here. I'm gonna be recording the training today, so we'll get that posted for anyone who needs to rewatch or wasn't able to join. But welcome. We're super excited to take you through this lived-in training today. I'm Tabitha Deegan. I'm the market visual leader in Minneapolis, and I have Dennis on as well, my peer, who's also going to be leading you through this training today. So first of all, huge congratulations on your new store, whether that's a refresh, renovation, or brand new. Very excited about this new lived-in design.
Oh, it looks like Tamara
And
joined.
yes, with that, I was going to say welcome, Tamara. Um, I will go ahead and kind of pass it over to you to just kick us off with some opening remarks and a big welcome to the team.
Hi, everyone. How many's on this call?
We have about 25, 26.
That means we're touching 25 stores. That's amazing. So thank you guys for pulling us together. I just have a few things to talk about with you. You guys are the next group of stores that will go through some sort of real estate touch. So congratulations to you, because you are a few of the many stores that were selected this year. The intention of our real estate strategy is to grow AE by showing up for our guests in the most aspirational, inspirational way. Whether you guys are a refresh light, a refresh, a remodel, a refurbish, or a brand new store, you are getting a gift. A gift. This is half of what we're calling the succession or the success equation. The other half, the most important half, is all of you and your teams. We have proven that when we bring together the best trained teams with well-executed operations in these newly designed spaces, it creates magic that crushes the goals that we have in front of us. And you're probably wondering, what are those goals? Those goals are pretty lofty, but we know that they're achievable. Right now, year to date, the 37 stores that we have touched are delivering a plus 16.6 on the year. And these stores really were the pioneer for all of you. So what are the goals? If you're an existing store, not a new store, the minimum expectation is a plus 25. And I'm here to tell you guys that of the 37, 35 of the 37 came out of the gate killing that plus 25. Killing it. Okay, we've learned what's caused it to drop, and I'm going to share some of those nuggets for you. So what have we learned? We've learned that we cannot underestimate the difference between your current space and your new space. You may not grow in square footage. You may grow in square footage. You may be impacted in your fitting room. You may be impacted in the back of your house. You may have a different design or placement for your cash wrap. All of this takes anticipating what those changes are going to feel like during peak and non-peak. So what does it feel like to zone to the fitting room during peak and non-peak? What does it feel like to zone to the cash wrap and fixture block the cash wrap during peak and non-peak? If you have a reduction in your back of the house, what does that mean to replenishment, processing, standards? What does all that mean? And what do you need to anticipate for peak and non-peak? And then what do LOD behaviors look like? Those are the four major things that we've learned from the 37 stores that have gone through it. So your engagement, your team's engagement, your commitment to anticipating what may happen, what needs to happen, and how it's going to happen by flawlessly planning and executing is critical. And it will be a major part in rolling out how you guys get results. So if you come out of the gate at plus 50%, which so many stores are coming out of the gate plus 50, so many stores are coming out plus 70. If you come out of the gate that way, but you see that there's a drop, Look at those 4 areas because guaranteed one of them needs to be finessed. One of them needs to be finessed. You guys indeed will come out plus 25 or better. And that is a given. But maintaining that day over day is a must because the way in which the stores that perform, the new NSO stores for 2024 perform, will dictate and determine how many more stores we touch in 2025. So no pressure, but a ton of pressure. I'm so confident that these 25 stores will show the last 37 stores what it's really about and how it could get done, how you guys can deliver. That's what I got for you. I'm going to pass it back to the team that's going to take you to the rest of the call.
Awesome. Thanks, Tamara, for that great intro. So obviously some exciting things there. We wanted to pull you together today and definitely walk you through the design itself and a little bit about the inspiration behind. And we'll talk about, you know, more of the kind of specific store elements and all of that good stuff. Before we jump in, I know Zach couldn't join, but I did still want to highlight the training toolkit that has been put together for you all in these weeks leading up to kind of whether you're moving into your temp, in your temp. I'm not sure if there's a couple of you that might just be closing for a few weeks. It really truly depends on your specific store scope. But I'm going to just share my screen really quick and highlight where this toolkit lives in Zipline. So I took us right to the library in Zipline, and if you go to the training and recognition folder, you're going to see this lived-in toolkit that has been built and kind of put together. So if you kind of go to the bottom there, you can open the folder. And there's a whole bunch of just different topics. So whether you have new leaders or maybe are kind of swapping some things around or just need to revisit some training, there's really great information and modules that are kind of pulled together in here all around LOD, operations, talent and hiring toolkit, and training toolkit, which also includes some really great visual training. So we definitely encourage you also to spend some time in that area with, you know, your team, your DTL to just really dig in so you guys are set up for success when you open. And then with that, I will just go ahead and switch gears over into our lived-in store design guide. As I share my screen, this lived-in design guide is available to you in Zipline. So you can, if you haven't already downloaded it, printed it, whatever you kind of prefer. And this guide is really going to teach you all about the lived-in store design. Super excited. Stay tuned for some updates that'll be happening in September to this guide. So depending on when your opening is, you might be able to take a peek at some of the like hot off the press newness. And we would also ask kind of before we jump in here, as you start thinking about your opening process, we definitely want to ask all of you to make sure you're continuing to provide your DTL, field visual team, your NSO with great feedback throughout the entire process. We've already made several updates and changes to the design, our NSO process, whether it's like little fixturing things that needed tweaking or some bigger updates that are going to happen to fixtures in 2025. And so we just want to make sure that we continue to evolve as a team so we can learn and grow together. And a lot of that comes from you guys in the stores. Alrighty, we'll take a pause point for Q&A at the end here. But to kick off, like I said, this is the lived-in store design guide. Digging into lived-in, our stores continue to grow and evolve, and lived-in is a representation of where we've been versus where we are today. So it's a true blend of the decades of our AE brand heritage with a modern aesthetic. Both our BU and Beyond store designs were valuable stages in the evolution that brought us to lived-in. So as we look through the store design, you're going to definitely see some similarities that have carried through for any of you that have a BU or have been in a BU or Beyond store. The lived-in store space is meant to feel like a refurbished general store. The color palette brings in a thoughtful blend of intentionally curated warmer and patina finishes with multiple levels of AE blue throughout the store. The balance of neutral and blue really allows for elevated brand storytelling. So some of the key elements that you'll see throughout the space include rough-hewn oak floors, exposed industrial elements, and a varied blend of curated wood finishes, all set side by side with clean, modern fixtures to really create something new for AE while maintaining a unique lived-in vibe. So moving on to the design types. Based on the store planning sheet, you will be able to learn the construction scope listed for your specific store. Once your NSO project manager gets in touch with you, you will learn what that construction scope is. I know on this call, we actually have like a whole variety of some that are new stores. Some are getting a complete relocation. We also have some refurbishes on here. So lots of different variations of really what that scope of work is going to look like. But I did want to highlight kind of a few just of the differences. So in the design guide here, it's going to break down. We're looking at new stores and relocated stores right now and what elements are featured within each of those types. So lived in plus is really representing more of like a flagship location. Where the lived-in and the lived-in lights are going to be more of the full kind of also full store design. So you're getting a new storefront, you're getting new floors, you're going to have some variation of the skate ramp and closet wall. You're going to have a completely new hardware kit, completely new fixture package, and then kind of with the fitting room and the cash wrap, it really just depends on, again, that scope. Anyone with a new, obviously, or a relocated store is going to have an all new full experience. If you are going to be in an existing space, that could just look a little bit different, whether the cash wrap stays in the same location or moves to the back wall. Kind of just depends on the store type. So really no two of our lived-in stores are the same, I would say. And then this is going to be the renovation types. I do think we have maybe one or two renovations on this call. And so there is refurbish. So typically for these projects, it's going to take 6 or more weeks to build. So you would be moving into a temp space. So this is our largest scope of work for a renovation. Really, you're getting kind of a storefront is going to be reclad and repainted. Otherwise, you're going to get new floor, you're going to have some type of skate ramp and closet wall, new hardware, new fixture, kind of all the things with updated fitting room and updated cash wrap experiences, as well as the plant package. So it's basically going to look like a brand new store. And then we have our refresh and refresh lights. These projects typically take 3 weeks, and most of the time you are actually just closing for those 3 weeks versus moving into a temp space. But again, your NSO project manager is going to share all these details with you when they start pulling you together for communication and calls. For all stores being renovated, I do just want to highlight, and again, this is not going to apply to necessarily a new store, but any of you that are renovating want to just really stress the importance of the fixture keep list. So this is one of the first steps in really your project. Some of you might have done it. Otherwise, your NSO project manager will reach out. But really based on your construction scope, if you're listed as keeping existing hardware, any hardware or fixtures, there are some pretty significant dollar per square footage implications if home office isn't getting accurate counts. So just really want to make sure that if something's meant to be kept, it's not accidentally getting thrown, and that you're able to really dedicate some meaningful time to getting this filled out when your NSO project manager asks for it. We're trying to make sure that these orders happen well in advance so that you're able to get all of your pieces and parts and fixtures in time. So moving a little bit more into the guide, this is the fixture conversion little sheet that's super helpful. You can see kind of how fixtures translate between a 2000 or a 2012 and what our new fixtures for a lived-in design would look like, just so you have an idea of kind of how to translate. Also really excited to share that we have been able to get generic lived-in fixtures added into the Mapped app. So that is super helpful in that you can actually plot out the fixtures you're using directly as you map. Plus, we've also added lived-in fixture maps to the floor set document, and we're really excited to continue to evolve what we're able to provide for you until our new lab store gets built. Okay, so getting into kind of the walls and fixtures, and I'm going to kind of cruise through these pages. I don't want to like read everything, but just want to make sure you guys are kind of like aware and familiar with what some of the walls and fixtures are. And again, you'll want to review this so you feel like the expert when you go into your opening. Okay, so this first wall is a stud wall. We also have a framing wall, which is going to be in most of our like new spaces versus refreshes will not have this. So kind of a fun little wall to merchandise with those extra light fixtures in there. This is an open crate wall case. Just a kind of a quick note that I know will get updated in this guide too, but these will actually be full length floor to ceiling in our stores go forward for those of you that have them. The polycarb wall, this one's super fun. So creates kind of a unique merchandising opportunity. Typically it shows up as like a wing wall or a return wall. It has that corrugated translucent polycarbonate walls with the window opening at the top. So we'll see that live in person when Dennis takes you guys through the Matterport walkthrough in a little bit. The next is the closet wall cabinet. So this one is super fun. These are going to show up in our refurbished stores and above. The type varies based on square footage. So you can see the one wall kind of up above here that takes really a little bit more space. And then that second variation below that has a shorter arm. So again, this is truly based on your square footage, which version you will get. But super fun to merchandise. You know, in this scenario, you want to really ensure that you have sightline through that closet wall to the wall behind. We want to be careful not to overfill this element, which might take some thoughtful planning, but really comes to life super cool in the space. And then the skate ramp wall. So this is kind of our last, you know, wall example, but another super fun, unique way of merchandising product. All of you will have some variation of a skate ramp wall in your store. It does come with its own blue shelving. And it's typically going to be built and set as a transition space in between like room 1 and 2, for example. It creates a really fun pause moment in the customer journey. And so again, depending on kind of what this space looks like in your store, we'll kind of get more to what will live there during the mapping process. And then switching gears to fixtures. So definitely, I think the fixtures, once they get in the space, just really make the whole store kind of come to life as well. So this is our lead stage platform. This is a modernized version of what we're used to seeing for a center lead. So this really takes the place of the center lead. And I know there are some small updates happening with the lead stage with this updated design guide that comes out. So stay tuned for that. This next one is also super fun. So this is called a DJ10 table. So these are modular. They definitely are going to change kind of floor set to floor set and where they're mapped and what you may use them for. You can see some of the like pieces and parts here. They're put together with pins and U-clips, and they also sit on a base. The next page is going to show just some of those details of how they could be configured differently, as well as how we utilize those pins and clips to kind of build them and secure them and keep them together. So super fun. They, could potentially be used as like a little vignette moment, which you can kind of see here, to be like a curated fashion moment throughout the store. They also could be used to make a really great like key item table or mega table surface. So really kind of partially depends on your architecture, and then also our seasonal floor set map. But really fun to play around with these fixtures. And then we're going to move into our rectangle tables. So this is the first one, the beam strap table. So this is kind of a modern take of pairing rough timbers with that clean modern metal legs. So again, you see those like kind of aesthetics and different textures and materials throughout all the fixtures. But this beam strap table is going to essentially function like a box-like table for those of you that are familiar with our 2012 fixtures. And then the work table is going to be the other rectangle table. So essentially functions similar to a sawhorse table. The honeycomb table, we'll just touch on this one quickly. It typically highlights a best set denim strategy. It has that honeycomb mesh tabletop, so kind of a fun one. This is going to be select stores only that are receiving this one. The 3-tiered table, this is also going to be select stores only. So again, you'll learn about that once you get your fixture footprint. And this one is usually going to feature kind of some type of like fun fashion pause point. The round table, so this is our recycled round table. Kind of a fun fact, the veneer tabletop is actually made of recycled jeans. So that's always like a fan favorite, but this really is taking the place of our round tables as we know them. And then the full and half rail pipes. So for those of you that are getting like a full fixture refresh or a brand new store, these are going to take the place of like T-stands and wardrobers. They're merchandised as wardrobers. They could also work with the full rail nesters or the half rail nesters to make like little merchandising moments. I do want to note, we should not hang merchandise from these little end clips like we maybe have in the past with those like front displays on a wardrober. They're truly just going to be the end clip marketing and they actually stay on all the time. So. And then just getting into accessories. This is a sawhorse accessory table. This is a select stores only, kind of more that flagship to have like that added curated accessory moment. But these are going to be the accessory fixtures that everyone gets. So taking the place of an A-frame, our gifting nesters. The pig panel is really taking the place of the H fixture for boxers. We've got updated fragrance towers. New sail rounders, and then also a new marquee, which actually is going to be the marquee that is rolling out to everyone at this point go forward. So that'll update slightly as well from what's pictured here. We've got new sandwich boards, which take the place of pinnable frames for a really cool way to leverage marketing in our uppers. A new banner stand. You will be replacing your white grids with black grids in your windows as you'll kind of get into the space. Most of you are going to have like a blue painted window space, so those black grids feel a lot better in there. And then the last thing I'm going to highlight is just our mannequin family. So these hard body forms are going to take the place of your current full body window mannequins. So everybody will receive these new mannequins for their windows, and you'll discard the old. So you can kind of see those and how they go together, all of their pieces, their names, all that fun stuff. And these mannequins, you've probably already seen, they're already featured in the window document. bus forms, we will carry over using the T-stand bus forms throughout the store. So any of you on here that are a 2000 design store with hard body forms, we won't have those anymore. It will be all the T-stand bus forms that will be used throughout the store. Leg forms will continue to be used throughout the space as well. And then I will kind of wrap it up just showing what a cash and wrap example could look like. So this is kind of that full new cash wrap destination. Again, there's a couple of just different variations of what this could look like. And then same with the fitting room. So this is kind of that full new fitting room destination. So just really depending on if you're reusing or getting a new space, this could definitely come to life a little bit differently. And then for those of you that are receiving the plant package, there's a whole guide in here as well about how to use, how to put them together, where to map them, and all that good stuff. So that wraps up the guide. And I know that was like a ton of information. So definitely just want to make sure you guys kind of go back through that, print it, have it handy. But I would love to pause here and just hear from you guys or some emojis, like what are we thinking of the design after kind of going through or any thoughts from anyone? Otherwise, we'll move on to Dennis's Matterport walkthrough. Yes, lots of hearts. I love it. Cool. Well, then I am going to now take us to a live store Matterport example of a lived in, and Dennis is going to take you through it.
Awesome. Thanks, Tabs. All right. Okay, so like Tab said, we're going to walk you through Palisades. This is going to be a refurbished store. We found that the consensus of you guys is going to be getting more so this design. But we will have, of course, like photo examples of what a refresh and refresh light is. You can always refer back to it in the design guide that Tabs had brought up earlier. And so before we walk through, here's what you should expect to see with this new design. So again, a storefront has been reclad and repainted. There's a new slate header and some perimeter millwork. There's that skate ramp and closet wall that was added in. So each design is going to get a version of that. And then there is new fixtures and hardware kit. There is going to be an updated fitting room experience like what we had saw earlier. This store in particular received that lived-in plus features, such as a ceiling grid and pergola, but only as a test. We won't be seeing that in the design go forward. And so from a mapping perspective with the design, you may not have a back wall. You may not have a back wall with the cash wrap moving back. But that being said, you'll just see in the space how we solve for that with the back wall idea landing in the drive aisle. And so in Palisades, it was actually shown in the skate ramp. And then you're also going to see mannequins throughout the space, which is unique to this store. So the rest of us are just going to have T-stained bus forms in the floor, but in our windows is where we're going to have the newer mannequins. All right, so we're going to take us back to BTS 2023. So the Centerly platforms is the fixture translation from what you see in 2012, where we use the low box leg nesters. What I will say about this is that what we're learning in our lived-in designs is that it's a little bit smaller than what they would show in the mainline 2012 design, right? Because you get the 4 box leg nesters. This is a little bit lower, like smaller. So you're always just going to have to kind of solve a little bit, but just think about what are the big ideas? What are they calling out in the 11 by 14? What are your key volume drivers? Just a little note there. And then of course, mannequins, as we talk about those, certain poses do have a wider stance than others. This is intentional, but thoughtful in terms of mixing poses and tightening compositions. All right, so starting with the walls in women's room 1. So let's look at the return polycarb wall. So a gene guide was placed here for opening, but this will no longer deliver. We will show you what merchandise will look like on this wall when we do move over to men's. And then across the linear walls, the mapping option for a 9-base scenario solves for this space. So again, tab just kind of panned over. So again, this story is the 9-base scenario. You do not have to toggle or think differently. You could just use what you see in your floor set document. And then you're also going to see denim wall cases in outside bays, but those are discontinued features. This translates easily to just our standard shelves. And then just notice here that we do have the big idea centered. And then if you pan over to the right-hand side, we do have a standard 8-foot wing wall. So everything still translates well. And now take a look at the floor fixtures. So leading in with the beam strap table, using grid cubes in front and gray base nesters on the sides. So here you'll notice that it actually translates pretty close to the chain. And the nice thing is that with the floor set documents, we do have that fixture overview guide that shows the different lived-in tables, right? So kind of show you what home office's idea of it will translate. Okay, so taking a look now at the full and half rails, which will replace the wardrobers as we do know them today. Just give it 1 second. So a few things to note here. So we're not going to be using the end clips to hang a display. So I know Tabs had brought that up earlier, but there is some more new hot off the press news from the new marketing relaunch. So we do want to make sure that we do maintain the end clip still, but with that full length #AEJeans sign. Does that make sense? So we know that it takes a little bit more work for us to have to take off the end clip. So rather than us like taking it off, there's like not a promo, maintain the end clip there, and then just add the new evergreen #AEJeans end clip sign. Okay, and then when placing these fixtures too, you want to make sure that you want to open up the side at the bottom. Yeah, she's actually like panning it right now. Right over there. So you just want to make sure that the open side, it's open to the side. So it's easier for the customer to shop. So it's kind of like a U. I know it's like a little detail, but it does make it easier for the guests to shop. And then now taking a look at the DJ10. So for this back table, this is an iteration of how to use the DJ10 fixture in place of a beam strap. So notice how in this fixture, we're still balancing the merchandising with the same choice count as what was directed in the document. This did open up a beam strap table for us to use over in room 3. And then just to note, we should have a fixture overview map available that you guys can refer to see kind of what home office's idea of like where fixtures could land, of where these DJ10 fixtures could land. Okay, and then let's take a quick spin to the recycled round table. Again, like Taz mentioned earlier, recycled denim on the tabletop, super cool. And again, just very close and similar to the 2012 design. And so before we go to the skate ramp, we want to go over to men's quickly. So all the principles we spoke to in women's for mapping scenarios and fixture layout apply, but we just wanted to show you the polycarb wall merchandise and share some guiding principles. So the wall's built, if you take a look at, yep, hand over. So the walls are built intentionally to have a gap at the top from where the polycarb ends to the ceiling. So that being said, you have to be intentional about the upper so that it doesn't raise above the polycarb wall. We have examples showing head forms or an accessory as an upper. But again, like for this, like for the ones that's in front of the window, it really shouldn't go above the sideline. And again, you can refer to the design guide because it does have the hat upper display that I'm talking about. All right, so let's move on over to the skate ramp. So again, a really cool design. So here in this skate ramp, you're seeing 2 honeycomb tables that were placed, that were used as a denim bar. This is where that back wall idea was pulled forward to land in center of the store. So the sidewalls have standards on each side to make them merchandisable. In some stores, we've actually placed AE77 here. This is an area where you need to think about storytelling by floor set for what makes the most sense. And then really like both sides of the skate ramp should jive together from a color standpoint. along with like the honeycomb table. All right, so now let's take a look at the 3-tier table. All right, so this picture does feel different and special, and so we should definitely consider placement and product here accordingly, right? So for BTS, we leveraged it for the third party, the Ziegler Sister collab. We used the Room 1 vignettes as inspirations as well. So ideally, like this 3-tier table is a really great fashion idea. Okay, so let's take a look over at men's now. So again, the same principles apply across men's and women's, but since this is an expanded, active expanded store, let's just see how it showed up. And so overall, the big ideas landed as intended. So big idea centered in the middle with the denim flanking on both sides of the linear wall. A few things to note here. So with that closet wall bump out, this can be seen as an extra fixture. And then we've also translated a double fixture, so that what is it, M2B usually, to a single and leverage product from the fixture into the bump out. And that's really was able to allow us to keep the storytelling tight. Okay, and then so for the closet walls, so to consider sightlines and visibility into the wall behind it, the merchandising on the closet wall and the adjacent wall behind it should accent and not compete with one another. And so to achieve this, you try to keep the merchandising clean and simple. Again, maintain the sightline for shelf and side hangs, keeping just really to like 3 choices on the shelf and 3 on each of the 4-foot rail. And then depending on the season, you may want to feature a full-length bottom here. These shelves can actually raise. But just be thoughtful of stack heights on the shelves. And then another pro tip is that the shelves and rails are screwed. So please work with a friend instead of trying to reformat that on your own if you can. All right, and then really quick nod to the polycarb wall again. There is intentional space at the top. So again, as we were looking at the windows at the very front, we really want to try to keep that open. As we go into the actual floor, it's okay to have like an upper display, but we really want to try to make sure that we're mirroring it on the other side. All right. And then lastly, let's take a peek at women's room 3 and line management. And then almost there, perfect. So in the shop, we protected the focal walls for presentation product that combined room 3 and back wall, all while grounded in denim. And then notice how we also protected evergreen clearance footprint in the return wall and also on a rounder that's behind the table. So we did a very similar situation on the men's that we're not going to show you. And then take a look at line management. So in this space, we did play with it a little bit. So men's boxers are justified, are right justified. And then the women's is left justified to align with the shop adjacencies. All right, so that's gonna close us out for the Matterport. Let's just see. So I think before we like open it up for any more questions, I just want to reiterate that, you know, this was like one of the first designs. We kind of talked about like what's different. There's going to be things different for your store, and that's what we're covering in every single NSO. I know between Tabs and I, we've done 5 million. No, I'm just kidding. No, but we've done a lot, right? And there's going to be something different, but really stay close to your NSO and whoever your field visual partner is for like any like questions that you may have. Hmm. I think we're going to open up to questions if there is any. Or if you just want to tell us that you're just so excited about it. I love that too.
No questions. I mean, they just went over a ton of stuff. No questions.
I just have a comment. Hey, Dennis and Tabs and Tamara, it's Holly. I've been in a couple lived in stores now and like obviously kind of like observing everything. I'm new, guys, and been onboarding, but it was very helpful for you to go through and like just call out some of the details, like one of the ones with the closet wall, like moving the shelves with the buddy and how many things go on them and just like details of all the tables. I've heard DJ10 and honestly, I could have like gone through the guide in more detail, of course, but I didn't know that all those pieces made a table and then it could be like on its own and it's still part of the DJ10 and then you can put it together. So very helpful to kind of go through like fixture by fixture, piece by piece. So thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I do because it's very like this is the intro, right? This is like introducing it to you guys, but this doesn't mean that we don't look at the design guide again. We definitely tell all of our teams to look at it one more time before we get into the NSO, just to like make sure we feel really geared up. Thanks, Holly. Thanks for chiming in.
I would even add because I think like it can be so hard to learn like new fixtures, new wall bays, new tables, like how to use them, how to translate from the document. So I think like can't stress enough, like partner with your district team leader, your field visual partner. Like, are there other store photo streams or decks that you can look at? Is there a lived-in store nearby that you could actually maybe go do some training in if you haven't already? It's like super valuable time just to be able to like be hands-on with the fixtures and learn them so that you guys as leaders, like I said, you're gonna have to like really quickly become experts, right? So highly recommend trying to get into one of these spaces if it's feasible.
Right. And another thing to add on to that, Tabs actually brought up a great point. So as your NSO comes closer, right? Your map gets updated in the map app. And so although your field visual partner may map it, right? Like we definitely encourage you guys, or we ask you guys to actually input the generics and map it yourself so that you feel comfortable going into the actual NSO itself. So just something to be looking forward to. Because again, such a win that we have the generics in there.
I would say too, once you guys get open, so you map it, you have almost 10 days that you guys are getting the store ready before you open the doors. Don't be so quick to change the fixture blocking or configuration, within the first week of the store opening. Let yourself learn it, let your team learn it. And if there's still challenges, pull in a field visual partner to help you through those challenges. I'm just going to punctuate as many times as I can. Cash wrap is where there's the biggest opportunity for fixture blocking and where we want to move so quick and we take it from where we opened it to not such a good situation in our quest to find a better cash wrap lineup. So work with your field visual partner on that and let your fixture blocking rest for a little bit before you start moving things around. Don't let it stay broken though.
Yes, 100%. We're here to support past the opening as needed, right? So don't hesitate to reach out.
Did I say
Anyone else have any questions at all?
Hi, this is Mauricio from 949. Sorry, I just got transferred to a new store lived in. So this is my second day. I just want to say this was very, very helpful now that we have floor set coming up. I have like a bunch of ideas now, especially since like everything is just new for me. So this was really, really helpful.
That's excellent.
Awesome.
So Tabitha, before we let them go, I do want to talk to them about training.
Yeah.
So does anybody have any questions on what Tabitha and Dennis presented? Okay, so I think Tabitha, you placed the training tool or kit of parts on the zip line, right? It was on zip line?
Yep.
Okay, so this is for the stores that are going to be closed with no home to go to for 3 weeks. The refresh light stores. You guys get a third gift. And you know what that gift is? You get payroll for that 3 weeks that you are closed, right? You get payroll to maintain your team. What we want you guys to do is to be super intentional about how you use that payroll. So you're going to take your district manager partners. I see a couple of district managers on here, fantastic ones. Aaron and Jeff, thank you so much. Andrea, thank you so much. And you're going to work with your district partners on a training plan for your team. So what happens is you're closed, you get deployed to a bunch of different stores, right? You want to make sure that when you're deployed or your team is deployed, that there is an intentional action plan that gets after the training kit of parts. So ask yourself the following questions. Does my merch team leader need to do a floor set in a new lived-in design store so that they can become more comfortable with the product? And do I have a store in close proximity that I could send them to that would not add additional cost? That would be their training plan. Number 2, is everybody on my team Denim DNA certified? If they are not, this 3-week time frame is your opportunity to get them trained with the theory on where is it now, guys? It's on JumpMind. Is it on JumpMind? It's somewhere. You know where it is. It moved 3 times. It's somewhere. Okay. Get them trained on the theory, then have them practice in whatever store they're being deployed to. And someone should be measuring that. Do all of my LOD best performance? Have they all gone through the LOD 6-week training program? If not, this is your opportunity to intentionally finish the training with them. Has everybody been certified on Replend? If you have RFID, if you don't have RFID, there's so many things. My message to you guys is when you walk away from this call, you must put a plan together, if you have not already done so, with your district team leader to say, how will you intentionally use the next 3 weeks to develop the skill set of your team and your leaders so that you can come out of the gate swinging and continue to swing day over day and not lose momentum. That's what these 3 weeks, that's the third gift that you got. 3 gifts. 3 gifts. You, your team, a brand new store, and training hours. How many times have you asked for training hours throughout the year? You've asked for it. I know, I get the feedback. Now you have the gift of training hours. Use them, maximize them. Don't just get deployed to babysit another store. That's my message, and I stand by it.
And it is a great message, right? Even for those of us that once we slow down in like a temp space after BTS to like go back and do some of that additional training, like super valuable. Okay, well, I think with that, we're actually ending like 13 minutes early. So we will go ahead and give you all some time back to dig into that design guide. And yes, we'll be seeing some of you soon.
And
Happy
congratulations.
opening.
Thanks, you guys.